shooting, we picked the most difficult set ever. Smoke, mirrors in every direction. Love it. Welcome to Twilight.
You're listening to Another Bite of Twilight, a podcast where we look back on our obsession with the Twilight saga and continue to freak out 10 years later.
Hello! Welcome to our third episode. Welcome to our third episode. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Mel.
And I'm Kel. Our third episode is about feminism and Bella Swan.
Yes.
So we're continuing our discussion from last time, but focusing more on her as a character.
Yes.
And criticisms about her as a lead role and protagonist.
Is she a strong female character?
Is she a Mary Sue?
So yeah, Bella as a character gets a lot of criticism. I think maybe even more than their relationships when it comes to people saying that this is not an empowering story for young women. And so we have a lot of thoughts on Bella, and it's a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag. So one thing that's always said about Bella Swan is that she doesn't really have a life outside of Edward and doesn't have many interests or personality. I think that's true to a point. I mean, the movies did leave out the fact that she worked at a camping store or a outdoors. What kind of store is that? Outdoor,
like
hiking,
sporting goods store?
Oh yeah, sporting goods store.
Yeah.
And she really likes to read a lot. I think she's kind of just the type of girl in
Does she like to read?
Yeah, she loves to read. She reads all the time.
Oh, really?
It's like her hobby. Yeah.
Didn't Edward do her homework for her?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure he did.
I don't think
Sometimes.
so.
Yeah.
I really don't think. When?
I'm pretty
Show
sure
your
he
receipt.
did, like, well, he did all the college things for her because she didn't really have an interest.
That's not the same thing as homework.
I'm pretty sure sometimes he did her homework.
Well, I really don't think he did. And I'm pretty sure she was a smart girl.
We'll have to fact check
part
that.
In the biology class, like, she knew what was going on just as much as he did. And no, she's actually an avid reader. Like, I remember in Twilight, I think, like, she was outside, like, reading and maybe fell asleep or something. And then in all of the books, she would always be just, like, reading books. Like,
yeah. Oh, that's true.
She's reading, like, Wuthering Heights and stuff. And
mitosis.
Yeah, I think that Stephenie Meyer never really made it clear, but to me, she just seems like the kind of girl that's into music, and, well, they talked about her, like, listening to music in Twilight in the books, and, you know, books, she probably would be on Tumblr or something. I picture her as that kind of girl, and I feel like you could say I'm sort of like that these days. I mean, she's in high school, so maybe people wanted her to do clubs or something. I'm not really sure. But I don't know, my sister doesn't really do anything. Like,
yeah.
She just reads a lot and watches shows and she writes and stuff. And I feel like Bella's just that kind of person. And I feel like that's kind of... I think she does have interests and a personality. I think she can be sarcastic and she's a good friend and is sweet and cares a lot about other people's feelings.
Yeah. I think she does. Maybe another thing is, like, she doesn't really seem to have an interest in a lot of friends besides Edward. And then when Edward leaves her, then it's, like, finally when she's, like, wants to be friends with Jacob. But besides that, the high school people, she sort of just feels above. But I think that's common, especially for people who are kind of introverted and in their own heads. And
she's definitely very introverted.
She's not... I think they get really hung up on trivial things, and she's not into that.
You mean the high schoolers?
Yeah, and I think the point is that she was meant to be a vampire the whole time. So she doesn't really care about these stupid human things like prom.
I think she did like her high school friends. I think she really did like Angela Weber a lot. And
oh, she did, yeah.
Those kids, I don't think she cared about. I know she didn't like that girl, Lauren.
Yeah.
And I don't think she cared that much for Jessica. But
Yeah.
I think the other kids, she really, maybe she didn't think about them all that much, but.
We don't know anything. I think, and we have to keep in mind that this was Stephenie Meyer's first book, and I bet if she wrote it today, it probably would be better, because I don't think she even had the intention of. She says she got the idea from a dream, and then she just wrote it down to like remember it, which who knows if that's even true. But it was the first thing that she's ever written, and so there's a lot of things that I think she didn't consider. Like, we don't really have a lot of backstory about Bella's life before she moved to Forks.
True.
Like, we don't know if did she even have friends, like, in Phoenix?
She never mentioned them, I don't think.
Yeah.
I've wondered that myself.
Because she moved when she was 17. Like, she must have had, like, a whole life somewhere else.
I remember when we had Twilight facts, that one of our facts was that she didn't have many friends in Arizona. And I don't know if that was in the guide, maybe, or in the book.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where we got that from.
But, like, what was, like, middle school and stuff like for her? Like, what did she do?
I bet she was just a really shy girl.
Yeah.
Who just read a lot and stuff. That's what I think. I don't think she was ever really a social butterfly.
But it seemed like she didn't really want to move to Forks to begin with, though. Like,
No. She was doing it just to help her parents out.
Yeah.
She's a very selfless person.
I think so,
And
yeah.
some people seem to have issues with that. As if they want, I don't know, the main character to be more about herself and more driven for her own interests and stuff.
Yeah.
She could be a little bit more, but I don't really see what's wrong so much with a selfless, kind person. I don't know.
Well, I think that's her strength in this series. I mean, people oftentimes criticize her as being a sort of damsel in distress, and that, you know, these guys, the werewolf and the vampire, are always saving her life. But really, if you look at the series, Bella does something heroic in every single movie.
Right.
Or book. Story.
And, I mean, she's a human, and she's taking on vampires. Like, she does not stand a chance at all.
Yeah.
And the fact that she even is brave enough to try is pretty nuts. And as we see in Twilight, her mom, she thinks her mom's been taken by James, and by herself she leaves Charlie, she goes off with Alice and Jasper, and then by herself she goes to the ballet studio.
Yeah, to save
which
her
is
mom.
pretty nuts. Like, how was she ever going to survive that? Sure, then Edward comes in and fights him, but she kind of had absolutely no way to fight a vampire.
Well, she was sacrificing herself.
Right.
To save her mom.
Right. Save her mom. And then in New Moon, she hears news that Edward thinks she's dead, and so he's going to the Volturi to kill himself.
Jumps on a plane.
And she does the same thing. She goes off. She's only 18. I had never done anything like that when I was 18. And then before that, she was only 17. I had definitely never, like, flown across the country.
She's incredibly independent.
And she goes again to save Edward. And then in the third one, she saves Edward again because Victoria is almost going to kill him. She has her arms around his neck, and then she cuts herself with a rock as like a distraction.
It doesn't really fare well with critics, though.
But why? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I was reading this source. I forget what. I'm sorry, but it was criticizing Bella because she says at some point in the story, I would be willing to bleed for the ones I love, or something like that. And so it's viewed as a weakness, sort of, that Bella is always sacrificing herself, her mortality, for the ones that she loves. But I think, I don't know, I think that's a strength. I mean,
yeah.
If you're...
Is it really... Is the reverse strong to be like, no, like, running away, good luck with that, and hearing that someone dies or something and you didn't even try to do anything about it. I don't really get how that is strong.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I almost feel like relationships and love are viewed through a feminist lens as something weak.
Mm-hmm.
Not really, I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but like Bella was always compared to Katniss in the Hunger Games, where she didn't really, she was kind of cold-hearted,
Mm-hmm.
and like that made her strong. She wasn't really caring about these relationships that much. I mean, she ended up, but I'm not explaining this well at all. But it's like a weakness to really be invested in relationships.
Mm-hmm. Katniss did always keep her distance. Peeta was always trying to be with her during the Hunger Games, and she was faking it, and then she kind of had this attitude when they got back.
Yeah.
And, like, I can't deal with this right now. I have a lot going on.
It's like, Katniss is a strong female character. Bella's not. Like, Bella's concerned about love, and Katniss is fighting, and it's
Don't
like,
even get me started.
It's like, to be a strong female character, you have to adopt stereotypically masculine traits.
Like, if you want to be a worthwhile woman, you gotta be a man. Kind of. That's so messed up.
Like, you can't care about your relationships.
And you have to be able to fight and shoot a bow and arrow and overthrow the government or whatever. I mean, that's so extreme. But I remember a few years ago, I don't know if people still care about this, but people are talking about strong female characters for a while, and then other people were like, no, let's just have real or complex female characters. Like, let's not just have, the girlfriend character or the cheerleader or, the tough girl. Like, let's have some complex, real characters, because that's what real life is like.
Like, you're putting women in a box.
But I think that it's really annoying when people say a strong female character is someone who just, like, kicks ass, because I don't know, when I watch shows like Gossip Girl or something, I think Blair Waldorf's a pretty strong, or at least a complex, legit character, but she's not, like, punching people or anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think that that's wrong to expect
It's
that.
like, to be a strong woman, you have to be a man.
Yeah.
And I almost feel the same when we apply this to the audience. To be a strong woman, you have to like manly things.
Yeah.
You can't like chick flicks. You can't like stories about love or relationships. You have to...
Or Confessions of a Shopaholic or whatever.
Yeah. Which is just backwards. I think...
Another thing I think is... Sorry, not to cut you off.
Oh, no worries.
It's super demeaning, too, to expect... to make strong female characters the kick-ass, macho type of, sexy woman who can, beat someone up. Like, The Matrix. Like, in The Matrix, she, like, is so good at beating people up. But it's kind of, I don't know how to describe this. It's always a surprise to the men. Like, whoa, she's pretty tough, actually. Like, it's demeaning and looking down on women from the get-go. Like, oh, you didn't expect that because it's a woman and she can punch. The whole thing is just set up for us to hate feminine women and, gentle people who care about relationships and love and things like that. We just want hard.
Like Katniss, for instance, she was kind of cold-hearted.
Which, whatever, I don't...
Yeah, I mean...
It doesn't have to be different, but...
Yeah. But it's, like, that strong. Someone who doesn't care about love.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying that's not strong or...
And I think that sets people up for toxic masculinity.
Yeah. If
that's
women in a box.
Feelings.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing to that. Like, denying yourself the ability to feel vulnerable. I mean, that doesn't put those feelings away.
Yeah.
No one doesn't think those things. It's just forcing yourself not to is not healthy.
I do think that there needs to be some type of life outside of their relationships.
Right.
Which I felt like Bella didn't necessarily have.
Yeah. She did see Edward every single day.
Yeah.
He would come into her room at night every day.
Yeah.
That was a bit ridiculous. I remember that Charlie in the books had set up like a few hours where she just had to be home. She was grounded kind of,
Yeah.
and she just had to be home and do her homework and like hang out with him. And she was allowed to see Edward before those hours, I think.
Yeah.
But then Edward would come into her room later that night anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Like, you're already seeing him in the afternoon. Then you have your grounded time.
How do they not get sick of each other?
And then at night he comes in the room. Does that set up unrealistic expectations for relationships? Because I feel like I think
it's pretty unrealistic that you can be with someone for eternity and you never even sleep. And you're always with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I'm someone that really likes my alone time from now and then. And Bella seems like the kind of person that does too.
She seems like the kind of person that would, but
not when it comes to Edward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's very independent.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, she, like, when she drives to Phoenix by herself at 17, she
wasn't even really scared.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like she asked her parents
ready to go right away
for a lot of help. She pretty much acts like an adult.
Yeah,
and
she doesn't ask her parents for anything, really.
Her mom was like, had her kind of young, and wasn't she, it doesn't say in the book that she sort of took care of her mom in a way, like she mothered her.
Yeah, it did say that.
Yeah, and Bella has always been pretty responsible, so it's weird that when it comes to Edward, she's not that independent. And then this leads us to the criticism that when Edward left her, I remember everyone would say that Bella gets broken up with, and then she curls up in a ball and she just lies there in the forest and then has to be taken out.
Am I a sick anti-feminist or something? Because I love that scene. I think it's so beautiful. I don't know. I love the part when she's like lying.
I think it's realistic.
I think it is too. So that's the thing is, I mean, that's the way the story went.
Yeah.
If in New Moon Edward didn't leave her, which he left her for a very good reason. I don't think that was wrong of him at all. He was just trying to protect her. But so if she didn't get broken up with, then cool, that probably wouldn't have happened, and whatever. But that did happen, and that's the only way it could have gone. Was she really going to be like,
oh, whatever.
Cool. Yeah. And I know that anyone, man or woman, or whatever, anyone who has been broken up with and was really in love has felt that way before.
Yeah.
It feels terrible. It's like you can't eat. You feel sick.
Yeah.
You might even have feelings like, I don't want to do anything, I just want to stay home, and that's what Bella did. And a lot of people say that that was really weak of her, and like you said, a bad role model, but I think that that's just realistic, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you can say all you want, like, oh, if some guy leaves me, I'm gonna be like, boy, bye, and over it in 2 seconds, but I think in order to do that, a lot of that is repressing feelings that you have to feel and go through and accept. And
I think that those feelings come out in other ways. That's, I don't know, reckless drinking or something like that. There's always some kind of way people are getting it out of their system, and I don't really see how one way is per se better than the other. I mean,
I've curled up in a ball and cried.
Me too. I've cried for days. Yeah. I've cried so much. Oh my gosh. Who hasn't been there?
Yeah.
You know? And if you haven't been there yet, it will probably happen, I hate to say. But I think that everybody goes through it. And I remember when a lot of people were saying that. We were still in high school, and I think that a lot of people that were saying it just hadn't had enough life experience yet to relate to that scene.
And I also think that this ties into the part about strong female characters.
The problematic thing about Bella's breakup experience to me is that, you know, she's depressed, she stops hanging out with her friends, she's sitting at home. All of that is concerning, and I agree with that, but I do think it's relatable. She does pull herself out of it eventually, but it kind of sucks that the way she does that is by hanging out with Jacob.
Yeah.
I do think that she genuinely wanted to be only Jacob's friend. I don't think it was her returning to life just by another boyfriend. I mean, we know Jacob wanted to date her. She, I think, had true friendship intentions. But it does kind of suck that
it's like
she didn't really...
She got over it.
Mm-hmm. She didn't
from becoming close with another guy. Sorry, what?
I said she didn't really want to hang out with her girlfriends or anything.
Yeah. She kind of just used Jessica to like go and have a dangerous moment. She hung out with Jessica because her dad said you need to hang out with people.
She wasn't really into it the whole time. She wasn't really speaking back.
Yeah, she was being weird.
If I remember correctly, I feel like Jessica wanted to talk about it kind of. She was like, I know you've been... I can't remember what she said exactly, but she started talking about it. And she was like, I mean, with Mike, like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. She was trying to, you know, have a conversation with Bella about heartbreak and stuff. And Bella was just tuning her out and wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, she's being weird.
And Bella's whole brought back to life thing was sort of just in search of hearing Edward's voice. Yeah. And books in the movies, it was like to see him.
Do you think her putting herself in danger to see or hear Edward's voice, which is kind of weird that she could hear his voice?
It's a bit strange.
Yeah. That I feel like she needed therapy for.
Yeah, she probably should have gone to therapy.
Yeah. But how could she tell the therapist, like, oh, I was dating this vampire? Like, that would put her in a mental ward.
Did you watch 13 Reasons Why?
Yeah.
This is a tangent, but I just thought that season 2 was sort of New Moon-ish. How Clay kept seeing Hannah.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Are you guys copying New Moon?
I didn't like it. I thought it's cheesy.
It is.
I think it only worked in the Twilight series because you really missed Edward as a character, so you needed that.
Yeah. The ways that Edward appeared was much more dreamlike, though. In 13 Reasons Why, Hannah was appearing as if she was literally real and was, like, having an actual conversation. Whereas Edward wasn't. Edward was just kind of her conscience. He was just saying, stop, don't do this, because she was doing... because she was doing reckless things. I think that her actual inner conscience was saying what she knew Edward would say, because she was acting kind of dumb, frankly.
Yeah.
And I kind of, when she cliff dives and is underwater, he kind of just appears and then disappears.
Yeah.
I think that was just symbolically showing her thinking about him, in a way.
That's true. I think in 13 Reasons Why it was just an excuse to keep the actress because they liked her.
Yeah.
But I think the motorcycle thing wasn't that dangerous, except she wasn't really wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
She hit her head.
I know. I wonder if she felt like putting herself in dangerous situations would bring Edward to her. I think because Edward was always looking out for her.
That's kind of unhealthy.
I know. But I also wonder if maybe she kind of missed the danger of being with a vampire. Like, life was really thrilling
There's
then.
something kind of masochistic about Bella.
Yeah. True. She does like to, I don't know, throw herself in situations where her life's on the line. And
a lot of people feel that way, though. We can't be perfect.
We can't be perfect.
But so I have a quote from Stephenie Meyer.
Oh, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Say it one more time.
Because I wanted you to know. Because I wanted you to know. Because I wanted you to know.
So I have a quote from Stephenie Meyer that she published on her website in regards to the criticism against Bella. And she said, in my own opinion, key word, the foundation of feminism is this, being able to choose. The core of anti-feminism is conversely telling a woman she can't do something solely because she's a woman, taking any choice away from her, specifically because of her gender. One of the weird things about modern feminism is that some feminists seem to be putting their own limits on women's choices. That feels backwards to me. It's as if you can't choose a family on your own terms and still be considered a strong woman. How is that empowering? Are there rules about if, when, and how we love or marry, and if, when, and how we have kids? Are there jobs we can and can't have in order to be a real feminist? To me, those limitations seem anti-feminist in basic principle.
Damn.
I agree with that, because
I agree with that too.
Also, people criticize Bella. I guess they see this story, and I guess to some extent we don't really know what Stephenie Meyer's agenda is, because she's a Mormon, and that can go hand in hand with some type of oppressive opinions when it comes to...
But some Mormons will argue that they're not involved in that, and they don't believe that, so not to generalize.
But, so... people see this story as a pro-life story because Bella chooses not to abort her baby. But I think, to me, the whole point of that is choose.
Right. And just like Stephenie Meyer said, how is it empowering or feminist to tell other women what they should do?
Yeah.
To say, she should have done this, she should have done that. What? Is it just because it's about a woman? If this was a series about a man, would you really be, like, policing his decisions and actions so much? I really don't think so. And then the interesting thing is, we were talking about this yesterday over dinner. Mel made spaghetti. That Edward wanted her to abort Renesmee, actually. I mean, he was really concerned for her safety and stuff, and he did not want her to have that kid, and even said, you can have a baby with Jacob, whatever. But she stood firm on her decision, and Rosalie was the only one that supported her, really, and no one else was listening to her. Everyone was alienating her. Yeah. Jacob was pissed. Everyone was pissed at her, and she stood by her choice. And it was her choice, man, that other people were telling her not to do. So how is that not pro-choice?
Well, I think the whole point of pro-choice is that it's in the woman's hands what she wants to do with her body. Either way, because there are a lot of situations when a girl will get pregnant and whoever she's with will sort of force or manipulate her into having an abortion.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, and then like, they don't want to.
We're going to take care of that. Or
yeah. And I think that's anti-choice. But I read this response to that Stephenie Meyer quote by this guy named David Cox.
What?
It was for a Guardian review of Eclipse. And he said, "This seems to imply that anything a woman does is a feminist act, unless she's performing it because someone's put a gun to her head. I don't know if this is all that feminism amounts to, but then I'm only a man. Some women, it seems, have yet to be convinced." So basically, with that choice, that quote from Stephenie Meyer, it's a choice what you want to do as a woman, and no one can tell you what to do. Does that mean anything a woman does is feminist if they're choosing to do it? I think yes. As long as they're doing what they believe in their soul that they want to be doing. The only times I think it doesn't apply is when those women are then telling other women what to do. Like, I wouldn't consider Ivanka Trump a feminist. Or Kellyanne Conway, or like those people.
Oh, it's so frustrating though, because it's I mean, I guess this is just the way the world is, but why is it like women just living their lives has to be feminist or anti-feminist, whereas men just living their lives? I mean, are we really like labeling that? You know, just him choosing to do something, have a job or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so exhausting.
I think it's just like not right to say Bella has to not be sad about her breakup in order to be a strong woman. Bella has to, I don't know. I mean, it's just this strong female character expectation is a lot to live up to. And, like, there's a lot of ways.
Another female expectation.
There's a lot of ways in which I'm very not strong.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just kind of putting women in this box to say that they have to amount to something when we are all learning and living our lives and going to make mistakes along the way. We can't just automatically have this, I don't know.
We're both men and women. There are a lot of unimportant shoulds in our culture. I mean, obviously saying you shouldn't kill someone, like, yeah, I think most people agree on that. There are moral and immoral things you can do, but even what we were saying earlier about Bella spending too much time with Edward, and we're like, oh yeah, she shouldn't have done that. But I mean, really, who are we to say how much time someone should spend with their boyfriend or girlfriend? I don't know. And maybe if you're just not into that, maybe Twilight's not for you, but I think it was just over-criticized. There are definitely some things we agree with, but
yeah. I do think that in Midnight Sun, Bella comes off a lot more dimensional than she does in Twilight in her own perspective.
I know.
And you can, like, see her from the outside. She seems, like, way more sassy.
Yeah, she does. It's strange. Maybe that was Stephenie Meyer kind of projecting herself on it because it was a first-person novel.
Yeah.
And Bella did come off a little bit insecure.
Well, first-person, just in terms of writing, I think you have to be a little bit more experienced to write something in the first person because a lot of times it just comes off as yourself. Whereas if you're writing something in third person, you describe the character from the outside, so you do a lot more showing and not telling.
You have to really know the character in third person, but I feel like sometimes in first person, you can just take us along for the ride.
Yeah.
And then we're like, who even was that person that was narrating the story?
Yeah.
We don't have to put this on the podcast, but do you like first person, or do you find that you prefer first person stories or third person?
I think I've read way more first person stories.
Me too, I think, actually. It's very common.
I like having the kind of narrator that isn't really important to the story, but is there, like in The Great Gatsby. Harry Potter's in third person, right?
That's funny you say that, because I also like stories where the narrator isn't that important, but people seem to hate that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, the main character did nothing, they were just a bystander and watched the whole time. But I kind of like it for some reason.
Yeah, because that's not the main character. The narrator doesn't have to be the main character.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And this is totally tangent right now, but I really like in the story The Secret History, the narrator is like that, and then he even says it at one point. He's like I'm pretty sure he says, like, the fucking bystander I've been this whole time.
Yeah.
Because he, like, didn't really contribute to all the action. He was just, like, there. That was funny.
That is funny.
Bella is not that kind of narrator. She's definitely involved. But as we saw in Midnight Sun, it seems like her character wasn't totally shown to us.
Yeah. Well, so we talked about how Bella goes to save the day a lot in all the stories. We just got to Eclipse. Do you think in Breaking Dawn?
Oh, yeah. I don't think in the...
Well, she saves her baby, if that counts.
Right. It's confusing because they split the book up into 2 movies. I feel like in the first movie, there isn't really a save the day moment. But, I think in the end...
As a vampire, in the movie, at least, she does fight in a imaginary situation.
I wish that was real.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that another time.
Oh my god. She does, like, she's fierce as a vampire.
Yeah, she is.
And she has that power, that shield power that
that no one else can use their powers on her.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And she can extend that to other people.
Mm-hmm. Basically a superhero.
And she does, like, organize that meeting of all the other vampires, right?
She organizes that?
No, maybe someone else.
Maybe she had her hand in it.
I do think one thing that kind of bothers me about the series, and about Bella because it's through her perspective, is there's a huge emphasis on physical beauty. And I think she's really insecure. She's always calling herself plain looking.
Oh, yeah.
And she feels really inferior in terms of her appearance when it comes to the vampires.
There is a lot of talk about how pretty Rosalie is.
Yeah.
Or the Denali woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when she becomes a vampire, is sort of in awe of how she looks.
Yeah, it's like this weird resolution of like, oh, I'm beautiful now.
Yeah. And that's kind of tough. I think that Twilight, for a lot of people, for a lot of girls, was sort of like, oh, I'm also plain looking and not so great, but here's this vampire that's so hot who's in love with her. At least in the books. I feel like in the movies, Kristen Stewart is not really
She's not plain looking, yeah.
She's really cute.
But why do the vampires have to be good looking? You know, like, it's like this...
Well, I think it's kind of like what Edward said in Twilight, that he's the most dangerous killer. Everything about me draws you in. My face.
Oh, yeah.
My wait, what does he say?
That's kind of narcissistic. My face.
Wait, no, it's my face. Is it my hair?
I'm the world's most dangerous predator. Everything about me invites you in. My voice, my face, even my smell. As if I would need any of that. As if you could outrun me! As if you could fight me off. I'm designed to kill.
I don't care.
So
that's funny.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense that they're beautiful in order to attract prey.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't think that was narcissistic of Edward. I almost feel like he doesn't care about his looks. He's like, I don't even give a fuck what I look like. It's only because I'm a vampire.
He also can read everyone's thoughts, so he knows that everyone's thinking that he's so good looking.
Right.
I do think that, like, Bella's often comparing herself to these other girls in terms of her looks. And I mean, it's realistic, too. I mean, I do that, but...
True.
I wish there was a little less emphasis on beauty.
Me too. Because, I don't know, does she show any signs of jealousy about pretty girls? Because then that's not so great when it's women against women, just because you think another one is pretty and has it so great, you know?
I feel like, I don't know.
I think she was jealous of Rosalie at first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I think also, though, she is, like, not really confident in her skin. Like, she doesn't really want to get all dressed up for the prom or her wedding.
Ever.
Yeah. That's one thing, though, that I don't like either. Okay, two things. That she didn't really want to have a big wedding, and she didn't really, I don't know, it seemed like she was sort of, both with having a wedding, stereotypical wedding, and having a baby, it seemed like that was Stephenie Meyer's way of giving her these stereotypical women experiences that everyone is sort of expected to have. Because it didn't seem like Bella was interested in the whole being a bride thing. And also, nowhere in the book, this kind of contradicts what I said earlier because it was her choice to have the baby, but nowhere in the book does she have really any desires about becoming a mother.
Yeah, she even said that she never cared about having kids and she wasn't upset. Because Edward said they could never have kids because vampires can't have kids with other vampires, and she wasn't upset by that at all. She was fine with not being a mother.
Yeah, so this is, like, not an issue against Bella, but I just don't like that Stephenie Meyer was like, oh, well, this story isn't complete or there's no happy ending unless I give Bella a baby.
And wedding.
Yeah. The way.
Right.
Which is, like, the expected happy ending for women.
It's true. And Bella didn't want to go to prom. I feel like she would have been happier just, like, driving around. Wearing her flannels and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love the prom scene, but it's kind of strange that what she initially wants, she either changes her mind or gives in for those 3 life events.
Yeah.
How did she end up having a huge wedding? How did that happen?
I think Alice just took over, yeah.
Alice is an interesting character because she seems really tough and spunky, and she has her short hair, and, you know, she's a feisty character. But then she also is so into shopping and clothes and shoes and stuff, and she's always saying, Bella, let me do your makeup and stuff.
Well, I think that makes her pretty dimensional.
That's true.
You know, she's not, like, just spunky and whatever. She's also...
True.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird, though, that Bella didn't really want to have that whole wedding. I mean, it turned out to be awesome. I think she was happy, but she was really nervous, and that's not what she wanted.
It would have been better if it was, like, a small, just, like, little ceremony. It's like, why did she have to have that?
I don't know.
Probably for the hype of... I mean, the set looked beautiful in the movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember in the book. We're going to have to reread it.
I don't know who they would have even invited to that wedding.
Well, they invited a few high school people. Well, all those vampires came.
Yeah.
From Alaska.
Does Belle have, like, aunts and uncles and, like, cousins?
Maybe both of her parents are only child.
Yeah, her grandmother
Does she have grandpa? Oh.
You know, in that scene in the beginning.
Well, what about other grandparents?
Yeah, I don't know.
No mention.
Well, is it her parents were young?
I don't know. Maybe they're estranged. Maybe they were there and Stephenie Meyer just didn't include it.
Yeah, you can't include everything.
That's true. There isn't really time for every single detail. Although there were a lot of kind of mundane details that were included in Twilight for some reason. I remember these specific scenes of her making breakfast and stuff and opening the refrigerator.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but no inclusion of her backstory.
Does her mom ever learn that she became a vampire?
Which is a really weird...
She becomes a lot less close with her mom.
I feel like she took care of her mom. I don't know what's wrong with her mom.
Yeah.
Because she always described her as harebrained.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she's just scattered and not organized and irresponsible, I guess. I think that Bella kind of always helped out her mom with the house and everything. And then I think now Bella feels like her mom doesn't need her anymore because she's, like, with Phil.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe she thinks her mom's all set. Which, I mean, your mom still wants to talk to you. I don't know. I do feel like she kind of ditched her.
Yo, I love you both, but we got a plane to catch.
Love that.
I love how he's in the credits in Twilight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I will say that I think Bella's sexually liberated. Because she's, like, embracing... I know a lot of girls who, like, won't even say that they're horny. They won't use that word to describe them. It's, like, sort of a man's word. But she says it to describe herself.
When did she do that?
I'm pretty sure she says that she's horny.
Well, she at least acted like it.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool that, I don't know, I feel like it's so typical in all high school movies and stuff that the guy wants to have sex with the girl.
Yeah.
And kind of takes some convincing and stuff. But in Eclipse, Bella really wanted to have sex with Edward, and she was ready, and he was not. And I don't know, that was kind of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, she was totally sure. She was taking control. And he was the one that was saying,
yeah,
no, we should wait.
I thought that was funny.
Oh, wait, did we talk about Kristen Stewart yet?
No, let's get into it. So, I feel like ironic is a lot of the people who were hating on Bella for most of the series also hated on Kristen Stewart, but in a very sexist way.
Yeah.
And people were always, one, criticizing her acting, which, if that's fair game. But then people were always saying how she never smiled and was awkward and dressed like a slob and didn't really fit the whole...
So sexist.
So sexist. The smiling thing is the biggest...
Right, because anyone who calls himself a feminist doesn't like how men are always saying to you on the street or whatever, smile. I mean, I was just telling Mel this, that at my work, this older man is always, while I'm typing at my desk, I'm a copywriter, he'll just randomly walk by and say, smile.
Oh,
and
so annoying.
It makes me think, what the heck? I'm working. Are you saying that to the guys that work here? It's just nuts. And so, yeah, a lot of people were tearing apart Bella for being anti-feminist, weak character, blah, 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 while at the same time saying, and Kristen Stewart, she never smiles.
Yeah.
And people on Tumblr would kind of, I mean, they do this to every female celebrity, but people would be like, oh, she looks a little chubbier today, or, oh, she has no boobs, and really just tearing apart her image. And I think that anyone who has a kind of feminist agenda against Twilight, who also hated on Kristen Stewart, is being a hypocrite.
I agree. And when I look at the series, I mean, to me, because I was so invested, it wasn't just the stories. Like, I really cared about the actors, too. And Kristen Stewart is the most unconventional actress, I think, that we had at that time. She didn't really care about, like, she definitely didn't have, as you said, a publicist or really did a lot of training.
Voice coach or anything.
Yeah.
She was totally herself.
Yeah. And she didn't try to be anyone that she wasn't. Like, she would wear sneakers on the red carpet. She didn't feel like she had to sell her personal life.
Yeah, she really wasn't fake at all, I don't think. She didn't feel comfortable talking about her personal life or anything, really. She definitely didn't like interviews that much. Yeah,
she gave the middle finger a lot. She didn't wear makeup a lot. She swore a lot.
She smoked weed.
Yeah, she's badass. And I think that, and now she's openly gay or bisexual. Like, I think a lot of women can look up to her and her just, like, give no fucks attitude.
Yeah.
I will say that Twilight was incredibly successful, and just with talking about feminism, we can't overlook the fact that, especially the first movie, written by a woman, we had the screenplay
written by a woman.
Was written by a woman. Melissa Rosenberg?
Yeah.
And
then directed
by a woman, and then
Catherine Hardwicke
starring a woman. So it was really female driven.
Yes.
At least the first movie. The rest were all then directed by men. I remembered the new main director was like Chris Weitz or something.
Oh. Yeah. Right. So whatever you think about Twilight, I mean, that movie was a real achievement for women in film.
I also think that Bella's in the middle of this love triangle, and she doesn't really take pleasure in two guys fighting over her.
Yeah.
She's not like, oh, who am I going to choose?
Yeah.
She's wants them to be friends. She's
really beaten up over it.
Yeah.
It upsets her that they can't get along. It's kind of a strange love triangle because I think the whole time she had picked Edward, and I don't even think she was really dabbling with dating Jacob. It's kind of weird.
Well, I picked the quote from the end of Eclipse. She says this in the movie. I don't know if it's in the book. But she says, this wasn't a choice between you and Jacob. It was between who I should be and who I am. I've always felt out of step, like literally stumbling through my life. I've never felt normal. Because I'm not normal. I don't want to be. I've had to face death and loss and pain in your world, but I've also never felt stronger and more real, more myself, because it's my world too. So I think, like, a point that gets lost on the critics is that Bella was sort of destined to always be this vampire. And yeah, it was about choosing if she wants to be a vampire or choosing
she wants to just be a human.
Human.
I don't know. Did anybody actually think she might pick Jacob? Whereas I feel like with the Hunger Games, even though Katniss was sort of more removed and a little more cold, I do think that was a bit more, who will she choose? We have no idea. But I feel like in Twilight, I don't know, were you afraid that she was going to pick Jacob? Because I kind of thought she was always going to pick Edward.
Yeah, it never really crossed my mind, because especially in the first book, the whole story is centered on her and Edward, so you don't just, like, change the direction. Didn't you read a vampire book that did that, though?
Oh, yeah. I really like vampires in general. And when I was in high school, I was really into the book series Vampire Academy, which is pretty good. I mean, I haven't read it in a while, but it was a really cool book. Anyway, the main character, Rose, dates this guy, Dimitri, who's like her instructor kind of in the first book, and I was super into it. I was like, oh my god. But then in the next book, she meets this vampire. She's like a half vampire anyway, Adrian, and then, well, she actually does end up with, spoiler, she does end up with the first guy.
Oh, okay.
But I think a lot of other people too switched to liking Adrian more. She did end up with the first guy.
Oh.
But it was more than, like, Twilight. Whereas with Twilight, she kind of just, like, hung out with Jacob, liked him, they kissed. They had one real kiss, but, like, she actually started dating this guy.
I think she never really seemed to have real feelings for Jacob.
I know. Your face was just like, I'm throwing that out there.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. So, I think also, sort of like when I watch The Bachelor and I see all these women fighting for a guy, it just seems like very gross to me. But when you see a lot of guys fighting for a woman and she's in control, it's like, yes. Double standard, maybe, but
definitely. That's definitely a double standard.
Men always seem to be the ones in control. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
And I think that, like I've said, Twilight was put under a microscope, and people were really nitpicky with finding these faults in Bella and the story in general. But if you look at any story, any female character, they're all going to have flaws. Like, we're all complex. And,
right.
I don't know. I think the strong female character is... What does that even mean?
I know. If we all behaved perfectly, what does perfectly even mean? Because everyone has their own definition. But if everyone just played by certain rules, I mean, it would be so boring. What would Twilight even be about?
Well, see, a lot of people also compared Bella to Hermione, and we're like, Hermione's, the real, like, strong character that girls should look up to. And I think, why are we even comparing women in general?
Yeah, I know.
To define what strength and success is.
And why do I even need a freaking role model? Why can't I just read a book and watch a movie? Why does it need to be like, oh my god? I mean, seriously, all of the kids that watch, like, scary movies when they're young, are we like, oh man, this isn't a good role model?
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't think so. If you watch, like, Friday the 13th or anything, I know people would let their kids watch stuff like that, and I don't remember anybody being concerned about how that would affect them.
Yeah.
I don't know, just trying to think of something else. Like, even Star Wars, are people like, is that a good role model? No. Actually, this is not, nobody asked me to promote this guy, but there's this guy on YouTube, Pop Culture Detective, I think is amazing. And he actually did this whole thing about Star Wars about the toxic masculinity in it. And I'm not like I don't really know a ton about Star Wars, but I feel like no one has ever talked about that. Like, things like that, I don't think we have to tear apart every piece of media that exists, but I thought it was cool that finally someone was like, why don't we do that to something a lot of guys like?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I feel like that doesn't happen a lot.
No.
Nothing's perfect. Even Harry Potter isn't perfect. You know?
How so? No.
Are we really going to get
No.
Well, I mean, it's kind of weird Harry, like, marries a redhead. His mom's redhead. It's not even like a sexist thing, but...
A lot of people love Snape, but at the same time, he was kind of emotionally abusive to his students.
He was. Okay.
And especially like, Harry,
because he got friend-zoned.
Yeah.
He is a dick for the rest of his life and is so
just
mean to Harry and his
child.
friends.
Yeah,
to a child.
Yeah.
Like an 11-year-old boy because he was friend-zoned. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then she died. You should be just upset that she died. Don't, like,
He's taking it all out on Harry.
I still don't like Snape. I don't think that was a redemption story at all.
Yeah.
I do think Bella was young and possibly not really a full person yet.
Yeah.
And so...
Are we ever full?
I don't know.
Let us know if you are.
Are you ever a complete person? I wonder at the end of Twilight, what is Bella up to? Is she going to keep... what is she going to do?
This is why I think we need an epilogue of, like, 100 years into the future. Or 1,000 when it's the end of the world. Mm-hmm. That would be crazy. And then they, like, somehow build a spaceship and they go to space. So it's, like, a sci-fi and fantasy movie.
No, I'm telling you, write it.
I'm gonna write it.
Now is the time for Twilight fanfiction.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
I think that's everything we have to say about Bella for now, but I'm sure there will be things that will
come up down the line.
Come up, and we'll dive deeper into this.
Yeah, so thank you for listening. Let us know your thoughts about Bella Swan and feminism, looking at Twilight with a feminist lens. Do you disagree with us? Do you agree? Are you enraged? Let us know.
Thanks for listening.
Bye. I want like a clever way to say goodbye.
Catch you next time.
Ciao.
You can contact us at anotherbiteoftwilight@gmail.com or find us on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at anotherbiteoftwilight. The music is by Traces. See you next time.